burning, okay, and you want to get rid of it as soon as possible to not absorb the heat and cause a burn. The faster you get rid of it, the less it's going to hurt your hand, right? The longer you hold on to it before you throw it, the more heat you absorb into your body. That's what it comes down to with really dark colors absorbing heat. And you can mix and match vibration. If something's vibrating faster and you want to absorb heat, what do you have to do? These are questions you need to think about. I really want you to start considering what I'm saying. Don't memorize it. Think about it. How does a microwave work then? It's a higher speed. Why? Because it's hitting you, it's bombarding you more, and so you can't reflect it. You're forced to absorb it based upon your vibration. It would be the same thing, okay, if you want a wavelength directed at you that would burn you, well, if you lowered your vibration, you could lower that wavelength or that frequency in a correlatable way to you to have the same effect on you. If you lower your frequency to a certain amount, you could lower the frequency that is being directed at you to have the same effect, as long as it's proportional to how much you've lowered your frequency. The only reasons microwaves tend to heat things up here is just the things that you're perceiving. If something's vibrating faster, it's not going to heat it up as much. Based upon that, I mean, I haven't looked it up yet, but I'll put myself out there. I can predict, based upon my knowledge of reality, that cold water will heat faster than warm or hot water. Or, in other words, it will absorb heat faster, proportional to its own vibration, its own vibratory state. Anyway, so you understand that. Then the idea of, okay, well, how do they use colors against you then? My connection to this intuition, which is connected to life itself, gave me the answer. So you're looking at the color green, right? Well, what you're seeing is the rate of reflection of light. Its heat will be dependent upon that rate, like hot potato. What happens if you go into a room and shine a red light? Everything looks red right away, right? And everything in the room is a variable color. You frequency lock onto the red itself. Therefore, everything looks red because that's a constant. That's what you're locked onto. That's what you're distracted by. However, the longer you're in that red light, you start to segregate out the other colors. Blue starts to look blue again. Yellow starts to look yellow again. Why? It's still reflecting red light at you. You saw it initially. But now you're segregating out and looking at the other components. You're still seeing red light. But it's taking that red light and emitting it in pulses of its own frequency. It's kind of like driving down the highway. You could be in the car and you could be throwing a ball in your lap, up and catching it. You know, one ball, throw it up, throw it down. No resistance of wind. The ball appears to be just going up and down to you. If you go outside of the car and look at the car moving, you see that the car is going, say, 70 miles per hour. The ball then would not be going up and down. It's actually making an arch over, you know, the speed it's going, 70 miles per hour, from the moment it goes up from your hand and comes back down. But then if you go off from that, you see the Earth is spinning, and it's actually not going in a straight line arch, but it's spinning. And then if you go back from that, the Earth is going around the sun, blah, blah, blah. This would be the segregation of detail. This is the very fundamental concept of a carrier wave. If you listen, and I've said this before, if you listen to a radio station and say it's 100 megahertz, you're not listening to 100 megahertz, a 100 megahertz sine wave. You couldn't even interpret that with your ears, but say you could. That's not what you're hearing, that's the carrier wave. And embedded upon that is the audiogram of the music. Well, when you're sitting in a room where you're shining a red light bulb, when you start to notice all the other colors again, if you put on those amber vision, you know, it's a different thing, but if you put on, you know, yellow tinted sunglasses, after a while you start to see color again. Okay, so if you're looking at a blue color, with red light coming off of it and you start to perceive it as blue, what's happening there? Blue is now the carrier wave for red light. It's red light in its own pulse, but it's being, like the tennis racket, it's being emitted at the frequency of existence as the color of blue. Blue is the carrier wave. So now you can start to understand something, because you've seen this your whole life, but you haven't been putting it together, right? The information has been available to you, but you haven't connected to you. So you just have ignored it, right? We all have. But the people running the planet have not. So you can start to imagine now the usage of color. If you understand this very basic principle, that if I shine a blue light onto a red object, at first it appears to be blue, because you're getting both. It's what your brain is decoding. So with television, if they get you focused on the moving images, the macro picture, that which is embedded upon the light emitted at you is a secondary source of information. But they've got you looking at all the distracting things on TV, so your brain is not decoding the stuff embedded upon the light coming off the TV. You're looking at the picture. This is identical to what's going on when you shine a blue light onto a red object and you see the object as red. They alter your brain waves with television through frequency so that you don't decode as readily or notice that as readily because you're too distracted. All the manipulation, a lot of it's based upon this principle: what you can see, what you can't see, what can be hidden from you. And now you start to understand that if you don't have this knowledge, then if somebody tells you that the television is programming your mind, you laugh at that. And it's very basic, isn't it? You understand it now, don't you? I mean, to some degree, you feel like you understand it. Yeah, it's really not hard to understand, and that's where I want you to really pay attention. Pay attention to what is happening to your confidence level. What do I mean by that? You didn't know this before I told you, right? But you know it now. How long did it take you to have this open up in your mind? Are you a stupid person? Well, do you or do you not have a better understanding? In how short of a time has this been out of your whole life? Are you stupid? Or did someone just not explain it correctly to you? You're not stupid. If you understand the concept of what I'm saying, you don't need to memorize it. I'm not going to give you a test tomorrow on this. What I want you to do is understand it as I'm saying it. If you can do that, then you have to make yourself aware right now that you can learn. Think about it. If you understand it, I didn't make that happen. All I did was tell you. Whether you understand it or not is up to you. It's up to your capabilities. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? So if you don't tell somebody the correct information to allow them to observe their own brain working throughout their entire life, or have it work in irrelevant, useless data sets, school, you disable that person. Do you have a better understanding of how color affects you? Well, color is a frequency, right? Okay. Well, you are a frequency. Your brainwave state is a frequency. If I stimulate you with a color, and it has a certain frequency, it's going to react with your body because you can see it. That means you are in the same bandwidth of existence. Anything you can perceive is within your bandwidth. Therefore, its vibration can affect you. That makes sense, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to interfere with it. You wouldn't be able to interact with it. Well, meaning, so you can hear on average from 20 hertz to 16